Welcome to the Scandinavian Mind podcast, our weekly show about how technology is changing the creative industries. Today on the program, how to be a responsible beauty brand in 2023. We are going to revisit a live talk from CIFF, Copenhagen International Fashion Fairs, that we held earlier this year. On stage, we had three Nordic beauty brand founders, Jasmi Bonnén from Nuori, Lyne from Woods Copenhagen, and Mats Johansson from L.a Bruket. In this live talk, we cover a lot of topics, including the importance of being a values-driven beauty brand, the role for biotech going forward, how brands can use new innovations in their packaging, and the question, can you even claim to be a sustainable beauty brand today? Not according to at least one of the panelists. My name is Konrad Olsson, editor-in-chief and founder of Scandinavian Mind, and I'm sitting here in the podcast studio of our headquarters at Helio Co-working Space in Stockholm with my dear colleague Johan Magnusson, our senior editor and resident beauty expert. Johan, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very good. And you?
Very excited, and the reason I want to have you on before we go into this talk from Copenhagen is, of course, to mention our upcoming Insights newsletter, Beauty Innovation. People that have listened to this last week's podcast will have heard us two go into depth of the State of Beauty Innovation report that's previewed in our latest print issue. But I just wanted to plug this. We are soon going to launch our Insights newsletter on beauty innovation, where we'll cover, intelligence, world news, and commentary from the beauty industry from the perspective of new technologies, innovation, and sustainability. Johan, why is it so important for us to do this right now?
Yeah, it's an industry that's growing faster than ever, and it's driven by innovation, but it's a constant flood of information. And we believe that there's room for someone to curate what's relevant in this flood and to pick out the major industry trends, the best insights from industry experts, and the product launches to keep an eye on.
Yeah, we'll definitely play a role. I mean, we really saw a gap in the market in terms of covering this from an innovation perspective. And it has to be mentioned, we cover this in our regular newsletter. We, meaning you, Johan, we go to all the product launches, we know the brands, we learn about the new technologies, and from what we found when we talked to the industry, this is actually hugely valuable information to be distilled down in a kind of a very useful format of this newsletter. So I think there's a lot of excitement around it. I'm super happy to be launching it. Can you give some insights into what we will be covering?
It will be a lot about, of course, innovation. We will have a Nordic perspective because in many different areas of this industry, the Nordics are leading the way. It can be for end consumers being early adopters, that global brands are, you may say, trying new products here before the rest of the world because they know that it's a very mature market and end consumers will immediately react on whether it's a good launch or not. So before we could have been waiting for like a year or so before a product was launched, while now in some cases we see the brands coming here first.
Well, we certainly want to give actionable information, and if for anyone who's interested, go back to our previous episode where we cover some of the macro trends that we are seeing right now. That's a kind of a taste for what's coming. If you want to get early access to this newsletter, visit scandinavianmind.com/beauty innovation. And as an upcoming subscriber, you will get this weekly Insights newsletter. You will also get access to seasonal reports and also live talks and other types of events that we will be hosting around the Nordics. So don't miss out on that. Now let's go back to Copenhagen and our live talk with Jasmi Bonnén, Martin Lyne and Mats Johansson. Enjoy. Always good to get some energy in these halls. The topic of today's talk, big one, how to be a responsible beauty brand in this day and age. Jasmi, I'm just going to throw it to you to begin with. What is your overall take on the beauty industry and sustainability? How would you describe it?
I'm going to really disappoint you now, because I'm going to say that any beauty brand, if they go out there and say they're a responsible company, they're bullshitting. Because we are all here to sell product. And that, per definition, in my opinion, is not a sustainable thing to do for the world. Neither is, fashion is a big industry, one of the biggest polluters. But that being said, I don't want to be killing anyone's party here. I think we can all do a lot of work to improve how we work within our industries to do things better, more sustainable and more responsible. But I think it's really important that we cut out the greenwashing and we start to talk about facts, technologies, and improvements, because we're all on a journey and it's a process and we're all trying to do things better in our little bucket of the industry. And hopefully and I know these three brands here are doing it much better than most other companies, but I think it's important to be honest when we talk about this topic.
I'll take that as an intro, so thank you for that. I want to give you guys an opportunity to describe what you do a little bit. So Jasmi, maybe you can start with Nuori. How long have you been around, and what's your angle that you brought to the market?
So my background is business and also big beauty business. I used to work at L'Oreal, and I was very happy to see L'Oreal earlier here represented as one of your amazing speakers. My take was to do things a little differently, really to challenge the industry standard of mass production, overproduction, and very long shelf lives. And I went out with the first concept around freshly blended skincare formulas, and that's what we've been doing since 2015. So it's all about all natural formulas with very high efficacy and purity. And small niche brand still today, but we're still selling in around 30 countries.
Wonderful. Martin, I want to give you a chance to talk about Woods. You have a very personal story to how you started the brand. Maybe we can start there. Describe why you got into this, because you have been in other parts of the industry, lifestyle industry before.
I'm the founder of Le Management, which is a modeling agency globally now. So that's another part, and again also from the fashion angle and the fashion business. And when we got twins in 2014, I was led into this by seeing a lot of hospitals and skin professors, dermatologists in this process of getting better. And this was actually how I was driven into to the skin industry, because
because your children had
because the eczema was very heavily, and we saw more and more of our models doing all to the trips on flights, way too much makeup, no sleep, time zones, that they started to have a lot of reactions to the skin. And what I experienced was that what you was giving, if you go to the skin doctor, if you go to your doctor in whatever, it is mostly synthetics, and it is it can be like steroid creams or whatever to handle the problem. And in my opinion, this is not a quick fix. You need to look way deeper, and you need to look into the full awareness of how to treat your skin, from your skin cells to the way that you are handling in the process and in the line. So I think what we were really surprised about was the industry, because everything has been taught by the routine, and it's been mostly from the big. I used to, of course, work with all of these guys because it's also clients from but it has been mostly about marketing. And I think now we are looking into consumers that are looking into ingredients, efficiency, and again also the CSR. And again, what is clean beauty to you? What is it to me? Because it's getting a little like something put on as a stamp, but there are so many things into clean beauty. So yeah.
So talk about being a responsible parent. You actually started your own beauty brand to service your kids.
Yeah, it ended up being like a retail brand. That was not the purpose. But yeah, now we're here, and I'm glad that we did, actually, because now I put all of my other businesses are being handled by my husband and all of our amazing co-workers, and I put all my energy into Woods, because there is so much to look into and investigate.
Right.
So it's cool.
Mats, I want to bring you into this. You represent L.a Bruket. I know a lot of brands in the industry look up to what you have done for the past 15 years. In our conversations, you've talked a lot about the importance of having values and maybe more importantly, sticking to your values. Can you talk a little bit about the origins of L.a Bruket and why this was so important for you?
I think we started out then 15 years ago, as you said, just based on values, because we saw what the industry did. We saw the solutions that they brought to the market. We felt that there is certainly an alternative to this. And based on, at the time, natural ingredients, what we could try to find, and we wanted to bring an alternative to the market based on traditions, as much as, but also brought to the market in a contemporary way, an updated way. So we want to present this alternative, and we based it on natural ingredients because we wanted, and here comes the core values. I mean, we wanted to bring something that was sustainable, natural, and also could be able to bring health as the key to beauty, because that was also important for us in the beginning, because we felt that there was all these technical solutions that were sort of doubtful if they worked, and next season there would be another one presented. So we wanted to bring at that time then a sustainable solution that could evolve along with the competence that we could sort of learn and bring to the market over the years. I think that's been one of the core fundamental values that we are
and talk about this notion of sticking to your values, because there are many opportunities along the line, and you had a very successful brand, people notice it. I'm sure there are opportunities and commercial opportunities that's thrown at you that maybe you have to deal with.
Yeah, I think one of the points was not to listen to the industry too much and not to be seduced by the short-term trends, but to find something that we could sort of bring in as a core value, because I think also when you develop a brand, you need to relate to your audience. You need to understand your audience. You need to be one with your audience. So having the strength to resist these commercial opportunities and focus on what then long term can bring value to your customer, to your brand, to the market, and potentially also show a direction for the industry, because we're all here because we represent niche brands, and niche brands are the sort of most fastest growing part of the range, and we all know a couple of the leading sort of values that we all could stand for. And I think this is something that we've been working with now for 15 years, bringing to the market, and I couldn't be happier than being here today, sitting and sharing this sofa with you guys, and also because it's proved that it's relevant.
Right.
And as long as we're relevant to the consumer and to our audience and to our supporters, then we have a reason for being, and we can continue to develop.
Jasmi, you're nodding. Can you recognize yourself in this?
I'm recognizing the fact that you're saying, one thing is sticking to your core values, that's about authenticity. The other thing is resisting these very quick commercial opportunities that eventually end up deteriorating your brand. So I have a perfect example of this. I'm sure many of you know this, if you have a nice, good-looking brand, at some point you will be approached by the travel industry. They want your product on the airlines, and they want your minis in the hotel rooms. But the only way to do that at a very low cost is if you compromise on the formula, you compromise on the ingredients. So next time you travel, and if you look at some of the pretty brands in these pouches, it's not the same formula that they sell in the store. It's actually manufactured in China in a completely different format, because that's the only way to make those prices work. And the same for mini sizes in hotels. So I'm so happy that by pushing back, a lot of brands have started pushing back on these minis, which are also terrible for the environment, by the way, a lot of packaging, saying that we're sticking true to our formulas. If you want it, you get the full size and you get the same formula as we're doing in a main brand, same quality, and you have to pay the price. Yeah. But that's tough. It's tough to say no to those opportunities in the beginning when you're small and your cash flow is tight.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Martin, can you talk at all about your trajectory and please bring it in a little bit towards what does it mean to be responsible? Because I know you think a lot about this in also building the company culture.
I think responsibility is a lot of things, because we have the advertising. So there's these young people looking for flawless skin. So being real about we all want nice POS to put up because it's this aesthetics and the vitality, but it's also about being real, because real skin is real skin. It's also about using different
ethnicities.
Yes, and body sizes and ages, and it is also about looking into the where do you produce, or what is your packaging, what do we borrow from the nature, what do we put back in the nature.
Yes.
being organic for you can be something different or sustainable again, because if you source organic, this can cost more for the environment in the minute you're doing it. But again, what do you leave for your grandchildren? Because you don't put the toxins in the ground, you do not leave materials you don't want on the earth. So you say maybe it's faster and it's quicker to make controversial, ingredients. So again, what is it for you?
I love that. What we take from the nature and what we put back in the nature. How have you...
Mostly, and if it's possible to, instead of using sulfates, then use natural washing ingredients, because when you put it back into the oceans and wherever it leads, it will be part of our nature again. So I think we have a big responsibility, especially in the beauty industry, because you see so many production leads where petroleum, this is a byproduct of the gasoline industry. We are using this as a filling material, which is, if it was invented today, I think it will be blacklisted. And this is, this is legalized in the cosmetic industry. So in that part, you can say, is that supposed to be on the shelves? No. But again, what is clean beauty? Because a product that can have like 80% petroleum can still have all the certifications. So do you think of that as clean?
That's the greenwashing we talked about.
So is that clean beauty, and what is responsibility? And this is where it gets so hard, because the consumer needs to have a doctor degree in educational to understand the cosmetic industry now.
Let's just dive into this thing of clean beauty. We've been talking about it all day. Everyone has their own take on it. Maybe Mats, you can talk about. Do you use this at all, this term, or
I think it's significant for the industry. I mean, as soon as an expression becomes relevant for the customer, all the marketeers, they throw themselves at that word, trying to build profit from it, more or less. But what it really means is, of course, beautiful. But I think that clean beauty in general is diluted a little bit, because so many brands have misused it, if you like. And I think that, of course, it's relevant. Of course, that's what we want to bring. And of course, we need to redefine that expression when it's diluted. So we need to find next level of both what it represents, but also what we bring to the market. Because I think every season that we work with our ranges and the offers that we bring to the market, we need to improve. That's being responsible. We need to improve. We need to take another step forward. We need to bring new technology into understanding the circularity we can bring, or not to misuse that. I think we talked a lot about biotech, and I guess biotech is probably the next expression that's going to be diluted at some point. But what it means today, it's a new opportunity to really, and we really like ingredients that grow. So how can we use grown ingredients in a new way, which is circular, which is not diluting nature from the sort of what they can bring, and that to me is truly sustainable, as long as it's relevant for our audience and our customers and our supporters. I think there lies the combination of things that we need to address, master, and show the way forward with.
And also about being transparent, because it seems like transparent is a no-go in the business. So as long as you're transparent, you're the customer, because this is a religion. So whatever your priorities is, you should be able to look at a product and understand it, and then make your selection.
Well, we'll talk about that, because I mean, any brand has the challenge of, you need the branding, so you need something that's rememberable, but you also have this challenge of telling the story and educating the audience about what this is. Jasmi, maybe you can talk a little bit about how you have tackled this with your brand, in terms of how much can you actually say to your audience?
Correct, without becoming the teacher who's, lecturing.
Or overflooding them with information.
Absolutely, and attention spans are getting shorter and shorter and shorter. I'm sure when you started, people were still reading things, maybe a paragraph. When I started, they were reading 3 sentences. Now they are looking at 3 keywords and swiping. So it's so hard to do proper education when it comes to new novel ingredients. We use a lot of ingredients coming from biotechnology because of the way they're produced. They're not harming, because you're actually doing them in culture, in a lab environment. You're not wild harvesting, talking about something like that. You also mentioned that earlier, having an organic ingredient is not necessarily the best solution, because when you're harvesting it, you're actually creating quite a bit of damage to the natural forest. So if we can use biotechnology to actually start creating 100% natural ingredients in culture solutions like hydroponic lettuce is made. There's the same way we can produce now ingredients, algae ingredients that are amazing for skin. But telling that story in a captivating, quick, fun way on Instagram is really challenging.
It is.
It's really challenging. So I think our task is, first of all, having events like this, which is amazing. But I think it's also to try to come out and make this fun. We do a lot of master classes at Nuori. We're out and doing these really fun events. You can get a little glass of bubbles, and then we can sit down and we can do a facial together, and then we kind of sneak in all this education underneath the fun of it all. And I think that's a fun way to engage the consumers, and they want to learn more. And there's more and more, especially the Nordics. L'Oreal talked about it today. The Nordic consumer is so advanced. They all have their apps. They can scan the Inky list, and they immediately see what's dangerous, what's not. They're a demanding customer group, and we're glad for it. They keep pushing us.
I want to get back to this about biotech, and Mats, I know this is something you kind of deep dived into, or put a bet on at least for the future. Just a little bit, how you define it and how do you use it today?
Yeah, I think there's a common understanding in certain groups that there's a sort of what can I say, contradiction between the science and nature in a way. And I think we see then the biotech dimension is as a solution in how to make the harvesting more circular, how to make sure that the natural ingredients that we actually bring from nature is then multiplied, the effect of it multiplies through the biotech process, and that's how we embrace this science dimension to it, because we, as a core value, we also said that we should always use things that grow. That's kind of core of it. But with biotech, it gives us an opportunity to really challenge the traditional industry and traditional sort of beauty solutions with what we can bring from nature combined with biotech. So we multiply the effect of it, and suddenly we have a set of really ambitious products that could challenge what you normally could traditionally see from any other sort of industry brand. So I think that's the perspective we take on biotech.
It's funny. It's now in our industry that this has become a thing to do, because the medical industry has used it for many years. This combination thing to maximize on the ingredients. And it's the same if you take like living cells. You can take them from nature, but you can kind of harvest, because you can keep on adding. Like if you have when you're doing your bread at home, you keep on adding every day and it will grow. So this is also about this, making it a little more holistic in the way of producing, because you can actually borrow something from the nature and then still let it grow and keep on having harvest from that, instead of doing new product, synthetic or whatever you're doing. So it's a really interesting way of
Makes sense.
Let's talk a little bit about sort of curating your product line with regards to responsibility. And Martin, I want to hear your take on this, because starting a new brand, I'm sure there are like hundreds of products you could actually produce. And part of it is, from my understanding, is about really, you need to minimize a little bit. You need to make it a little bit simpler for your customer. What's been your approach?
I think the less is more concept is what we need to look into, because we were taught most people have skincare routines, and some have like 11 or 12 steps. That is not, our skin is self-regulative, so you don't need to cleanse or use 12 steps. You need to minimize them, because your skin will actually look, the less you do, the better your skin actually looks. So instead of just stripping your skin and adding a lot of bad, harmful ingredients, then go back to what is the natural way of treating your skin. So you can add and you can support, but everything is about building the skin barrier instead of destroying. And if you go back, everything that we were taught is actually destroying the skin barrier. The skin, it's the pH level, it's the bacterial culture, it's everything on your skin. And then we are starting to get breakout and get red, and people are putting more and more foundations on, and it goes into this. It's like, stop, because you don't need all this shit. You need to behave in a nice, organic, and holistic way, so your skin can breathe, and you can add, you know, the ingredients that actually performs in your skin. Otherwise, you know, people who didn't use anything a full lifetime, only oils, these old yoga women, they look like a billion when they're like 60 or 70. And, you know, the heavily, you know, uses of makeup and in general, the skin, you can see when they're 50, they're actually, the skin is destroyed from all of these routines. So I think we need to go back to say, let's save environment, money, and in also for like, in every sense, then cut down on the range.
Jasmi, talk a little bit about your sort of product curation strategy, how you build your line, and how this relates to responsibility.
So as a business person, you are constantly dealing with this contradictory situation where I absolutely agree with your philosophy, and skinimalism is a huge trend, and we are trying to promote internationally. You know, there's no need for the J or K beauty 10 to 15 steps. We are a little bit more functional and busy, and more or less is more in Scandinavia. Yeah. But you know, we're not naive. We are businesses, and there is a huge demand for newness. Yeah. The magazines don't want to write about the brand if you've had the same product for the last 10 years. You have to tell them something new. When you're at a fair like this, they ask, what's the new thing? What's the new launch? So we all have to deal with this, and that's where you also see brands suddenly branching out from making eye creams to candles, because we need to launch something. I mean, this is such a strange scenario, but that's the reality of it, because you have to keep on growing. And I think our approach has been always thinking about not just launching another eye cream, because the world doesn't need another eye cream. We only launch something if we see a unmet need in the market. And it could be a functionality that doesn't exist. It could be a type of formula that doesn't exist. When there's an unmet need, I can justify adding a new product to the line. Otherwise, we say we only have one launch this year. And that's how we work.
Mats, you've had 15 years experience of building your line, so to speak.
We've been at times exaggerating that, but I must say that it depends a little bit on the core values and the philosophy that you have, and how you see yourself as a brand. Because we are a lot about wellness, quality of life, holistic perspective, as much as skincare in itself, because it's part of it. Because, I mean, to your point, I mean, if we concentrate on having the necessary products with the highest quality possible that does the job well, then we don't need another one.
Exactly.
But to add quality to your life, and to add quality to the 8 minutes alone you have every day in the shower, that's when you might need another one. Then maybe you need a candle.
Absolutely.
So just to put yourself in the right mindset, because happiness is about balance. Yeah. And we're also about balance as much as we are about professional skincare. Yeah. So this is a tricky task, of course, as a brand, because you want to cover it all. But it's basically what we need for ourselves. Yeah. So if it makes sense to us, if it makes sense to our audience, then I think it's defendable.
Absolutely.
But it's not defendable to do it just because of commercial reasons. There has to be a relevance in a need, in a use or something, and you need to connect it to the core values of your brand as well, because otherwise you're lost in your audience mind. So I think that's where the core values come in and guide you, and guide me maybe differently than we would guide your brand, and that's why it becomes interesting. Right.
Absolutely.
As long as we sort of stick to our core values, I think we all have reasons for doing what we are doing.
There's a consistency to what you're doing. Exactly.
Yeah.
I also think because back in the old days, the consumer didn't know about the cosmetics. So what you could do was to do marketing. It was about a nice skin or a great model and an advertisement. You're like, I want to be that. Now people are starting to recognize every single person has different, dreams or problems or whatever. So us as producers now, we need to state much more what is our values and where do we think, we can make a difference. Is it on the self-care thing, because that's also a part? Is something about a great feeling, or is it about a skin problem, or is it about a family usage in the product? So I think today we need to put so much more into being super sharp about how we communicate and how we use our PR and our marketing, because everybody's interested in finding the brand that they can hook up to. Before it was much more about going for somebody who gave a nice picture because we didn't know better, because that was the terms.
Yeah.
So I think the consumer now, they need to find their shelf, and they need to find, these guys are me and I'm over here, or they do something extra for me.
We have limited time, but I want to get a chance to talk about a small topic called packaging before we end. It's, let's face it, it's one of the biggest impacts that you guys have running your businesses. Jasmi, you are launching some projects actually around new types of packaging, but maybe you can talk a little bit about the challenge of this, because it is a huge challenge.
Yes, so often people only talk about responsibility and packaging. That's where they're sort of focused on. And there are luckily more and more packaging options now available that are also performing a proper function, because some of the first generation of recycled plastics were horrible, and there was a transfer of toxins from the recycled plastic material into the creams. Now we're getting some amazing bioplastics. We're using sugarcane plastics in some of our products that are carbon negative. And also recycled, post-consumer recycled packaging, which can now look really cool. We are launching a green, gray bottle because that substrate will never be clear or white. And instead of fighting that and saying we want to be a white skincare brand, we're just saying, well, let's make a green bottle, because that's the substrate and that's the way the world is going to develop. But packaging is still important for the brand expression, and we can't just, cut corners when it comes to that. So it's a really big challenge, I think, for the beauty industry, and packaging suppliers need to step up their game. We need more options. Because I'm not a packaging manufacturer. I need someone to bring me better options. Please.
Mats, can you talk about your sourcing your packaging? What have been some of the challenges?
But I think
decision making.
I agree on the challenges here, because it's not. We look for high-tech solutions, and they're not really there, because they're not really there in a scale that is adoptable for us as brands. But what do we do then? Well, short term, let's produce less packaging, and let's focus on what's reachable to make a short-term difference while waiting for the long-term development and be part of the long-term development as well. So I think it's a lot about going into refill systems, how we can work on that, and how the refill packaging then can be made of paper instead of plastics, just to make a difference. And those developments are really super interesting at the moment, I think. So there are, if you pick out some corners of the packaging options that you haven't tried to deep dive into those, I think that's where we can make a quick difference, because the difference needs to come now, as much as in the future. And I think for us, the original packaging maybe needs to be even longer lasting, to be able to withstand the refilling process. So I think there are different ways you could sort of address the topic, but it's the topic. Compared to biotech and all the other stuff that we just talked about.
Guys, we have to wrap it up. I'm very sorry, we have so much to talk about. I want to give you a chance to, let's end on an optimistic note. Each of you, can you describe something that you're really excited and optimistic about in the time to come, either for the industry or for your brand? Martin, you can start.
I think for sure that it is that the customers are starting to demand something of us, and I think with the biotech now and in general that I see more and more brands are looking into this because the consumer are claiming it. So for us, it's we have some high notes to hit.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
Jasmi?
I think the most positive fact is that clean, sustainable beauty brands are the fastest growing segment of our industry. That in itself is an amazing achievement, thanks to brands, especially like you, who have started this movement, and investor money is coming to this segment, and I think we're going to be the future of beauty.
Mats? I do agree on that, and I think it's the way forward. And I think what we're doing here today is one of the signs that sort of points in that direction. I'm really happy about the new development we've seen in biotech and what's been discussed here over the past day. And for us, it brings us to the next level of how we can continue the journey the way we started it, with biotech to go even higher when it comes to ambition level on products and what we're bringing now. We're really super proud about that. So I think, there's an exciting future, and I think, again, brands like the ones we see here today is the answer. basically.
All right. Brands like us are the answer. This has been Beauty Innovation Talks from Scandinavian Mind. We'll be back in 30 minutes with our last one. But a round of applause to Martin, Jasmi, and Mats.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
All right, that was Jasmi Bonnén, Martin Lyne, and Mats Johansson from our live talk at CIFF, Copenhagen International Fashion Fairs earlier this year. If you're interested in what's happening in the beauty space, don't forget to sign up for early access to our upcoming Insights newsletter. Visit scandinavianmind.com/beauty innovation. And of course, order your own copy of our new print issue. Issue 4 of Scandinavian Mind has now hit newsstands, and you can order it through our website. Visit scandinavianmind.com. Till next week, goodbye.